Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Like Last Time. We had this one bloke, maybe mid-50s, always in a pressed suit, always rushing, always rude. Every time he ordered, he would go flat white, same as last time, don't mess it up this time. And every time we asked for clarification, he would roll his eyes and tell us to figure it out. It's not hard, you made it right once. Safe to say, we were all tired. One day, I had just had enough. He stomped in, barking the same order. Flat white, same as last time. So I gave him exactly what he had last time, or rather what he ordered last. A decaf oat milk cappuccino with caramel drizzle. He had ordered it once by mistake and hated it. I handed it to him with a chipper. Here you go. Exactly like last time. He took one sip, paused and just said, "What is this?" I smiled and said, "Your exact order from last time. You told me not to mess it up." He threw a $5 on the counter and stormed out. He never used that line again and was never rude. Worth it. The next story is called No Drinking. I used to work reception at a small insurance office in the UK. Policy was no food or drink at the front desk. Fair enough. But one summer we had a heat wave and no air conditioning. I brought a water bottle and discreetly kept it behind the monitor. One day the manager spotted it and told me absolutely no drinks at the desk. Doesn't matter if it's hot. Rules are rules. I asked, "Even water?" And she said yes. So the next day I didn't bring any. By 2 p.m. I was dizzy and dehydrated. I walked away from the desk and sat in the break room to drink water. Manager came in and asked why I wasn't at the desk. I reminded her that she said no drinks at the desk. I needed water, so I had to leave. Phone started ringing off the hook and clients were standing around waiting. I was told to use common sense after that, and my water bottle stayed. The third story is called As You Wish. One of my first jobs at 14 was in a leather shop. We turned deer hide into leather. It was actually physically demanding and unhealthy, I'm sure, as we dipped the hides in lye before working them in some old large wooden buildings. On my third day on the job, a light caught fire. I went out to notify my boss. I said, "Hey sir." He told me, "Not right now." I pleaded and said, "But you should really hear." He cut me off and said, "Not another word. Back to work or you are fired." I wanted to tell him, and that's when it clicked. I went back to work. I watched the firewall become engulfed in flames. I was watching my exit, debating on leaving soon. And that's when he came rushing into the smoke. He yelled at me for still working and said, "Get outside." I replied that he told me to get back to work as I walked out. Fire trucks were already coming in and I helped our boss home. The last story is called All the Places. A little over a decade ago, I worked up in the oil patch in northern Canada on different IT contracts. The current contract I was on involved maintaining virtual meeting rooms. The oil company had decided that if you didn't need to be on site, they would move your job south and pay you 25 to 50% less. When you needed to meet with people on site, you'd book a meeting, and all was golden. The IT company I was with was amazing, but they lost the contract to an international IT company. We'll call them Company A, servicing Oil Company B. I was one of the fortunate few who got a job with Company A, which, in hindsight, was unbelievably foolish. Most of the rest of the talent, who had been working IT under contracting companies for 10 years plus, simply walked away. It was like management sat down and said, "What's the absolute worst way we can mess things up?" And then they did exactly that. They hired a bunch of fresh out of college or unqualified people. Within a few months, our ticket count went from an average of around 50 at any given time to well over 600 and growing, with no end in sight. We got chewed out for the ticket count being high. We got chewed out for bringing it down, because our ticket closure rates weren't consistent. Good or bad, We got chewed out either way. Company A was hemorrhaging money to Company B. Every unresolved ticket outside their allowed failures was a fine. And there were multiple sites. Most salaried oil company employees who had computer problems waited weeks or months for solutions. But they were salaried, and it didn't stop oil from coming out of the ground, so no one cared, except for the meeting rooms. Managers couldn't have virtual meetings with staff. Things were getting delayed, and that was going to affect oil coming out of the ground. So suddenly, it was a problem. The 12 of us working there were given full-time work and 6 vehicles. The supervisor took one for himself to drive to and from town, and wouldn't let anyone else use it during the day. That left 5 vehicles. It used to be that we were dedicated to specific types of work. Now everyone did everything, and we were expected to just check the meeting rooms as we drove by, or if we had a ticket in that building. As a result, most meeting room maintenance just wasn't being done. The new hires, who got tickets to facilitate virtual meetings for the vice presidents and directors, simply wouldn't show up, and the meetings failed. I had been loudly and constantly pointing out that we couldn't check meeting rooms in buildings we didn't have tickets for, especially when we didn't have vehicles to get there anyway. A coworker told me that one of Company A's managers came north to review the situation. At lunch he saw one of my emails, said, "I'm not reading that," tossed down his phone and ate his lunch. That's when I gave up, gave in, and just did what I was told. I had been working hard to keep all the executive meetings for Company B running smoothly for months. Time for some malicious compliance. There was a building in town with meeting rooms. Our main building on site was about 45 minutes north. Every morning, instead of starting on site at 7, I'd be at the town building at 8, checking a meeting room, stocking it with supplies and fixing problems. Except I wasn't, because the rooms were in use and I couldn't get in. Then I'd drive north, get to our building at 9, do a few tickets, be one of the only people the oil executives saw who could make meetings run, and leave at 2 to go check another meeting room I couldn't enter. Then I'd go home. After about a month, the oil executives called in my supervisor, my manager and my manager's manager, and said something like, "Put him on just meeting rooms and meetings." I got called in. Most of my other work was taken away. I was given my own vehicle. I was told to check all the meeting rooms every week, a 4-person job, and take care of all the executive meetings. I told my supervisor it wasn't physically possible to be in 3 or 4 places at once. He didn't care how I did it, just get it done. So I got it done. Every time we checked a meeting room, we had to scan a QR code with a company phone, export the data to Excel and submit it. Every minute of every day, I clicked the scan button and scanned nothing. At the end of the week, I exported to Excel, got the list of all the room codes, randomized them, pasted them in, saved and submitted. Click, I'm in town checking a room. 1 minute later, click, I'm 30 kilometers north. 1 minute later, click, I'm 70 kilometers across the river. I breezed through the rest of my stay, attending executive meetings, keeping them happy, starting late, ending early, and driving my own dedicated vehicle. I applied for a new job, got approved, and just had to wait for the background check. My start date was set for 6 months out. I planned a 3-week vacation at Company A months in advance. On my last day before vacation, I handed in my 3 weeks notice and left. I had made good friends there. I kept getting invited to social events for a while. From what I heard, they eventually put 4 people on meeting rooms and still couldn't get it done, because no one ever learned how. Eventually, Company A lost the contract. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.